to learn how to do parallelogram area. So you've got this sheet here with your measures to do perimeter, and we're going to also use it to do area. And then we're going to come up with a general rule, and that's what you're using with this sheet. You're going to cut these figures out and stick them into your notebook. But before we get there, I want to go back to this. I put it in the smartboard, the sheet you were just working with, and talk about how we were figuring out area. Okay, and starting back at the beginning here, just with visualizing, one idea, when you have grid paper, you could think of a way to cut part of your parallelogram off. In other words, you could take this chunk here that I've selected in green and imagine it being put over here, and then basically you could take, you know, an eraser, or in my case I can just, you know, take a pen of some sort and get rid of this chunk here, and then count the area of my new figure, which is now a rectangle. That rectangle has an area of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, so your area is 20 centimeters squared. Can you guys raise your hand if that made sense? I know we talked about it once already. Okay. Sometimes there's easy to visualize those, and sometimes it's not. Okay, but it's pretty easy to visualize that on number 2. So Chloe, what'd you get on number 2 for? Or we did number 2. What about number 3? Can you do that same idea for number 3?
For area?
Yeah, for area.
Well, yeah, I could take...
Come on up and do it. So look, you've got a yellow pen here. See if you can, let me move this. Okay.
Take that.
Yeah, that would work.
And then move it over here.
Exactly. So shade in the new. Right, so that's going to be your new shape. And then I'm going to go ahead then, thanks Chloe, and put a rectangle over that. And I'll just trace over it. So really this is her new rectangle. Does that make sense? And you can kind of see through it there. Dominic, why don't you turn around? So this area, so that strategy works a lot. Oops, let's get that darker. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the area is 30 centimeters squared. Okay, and this is no longer part of the picture. We are going to eliminate that. So basically we're modifying the drawing, which you can't do. You can't do that with perimeter, but you can with area. So we've chopped that off. So which picture on there, Sophie, when you look at all of those, is it harder to do that way?
I would say 2. Or wait, on the whole thing?
Of the leftovers.
Oh.
Is there one that doesn't work so well?
6. Or
6?
4.
4 and 6, right? So you could use other strategies, but the same idea. Can somebody think of a strategy for 6? Yeah, what'd you do, Sophie? Come on up.
I have one.
Oh, come on up and do 4. So that was one. There's different strategies to count. So show us with, here you go.
So what I did was, I just started breaking, so I saw that this could be a part that we start to build on, like, and so what I did was I just kept on, like, adding on, like, different pieces to try to make it into a rectangle or something that would, be easier to. And so what I did was I made a rectangle, and then I saw there's these two left over. So I saw that I could just make that.
I'm looking at my picture. You know what? My picture's not very good, is it, compared to yours? Let me pause and fix that picture, because what you're doing is correct, but I think I drew a bad picture. Okay, the picture's fixed now, I think.
Okay.
So what she's doing does work on your worksheet. Try that again.
So this is the place that I thought I would build on. And
Right.
I saw that there was a piece just like it, so I added that on.
Right.
Here.
Yes.
That, and then so I saw that we could just put these together, and it would be another, like, it would add on to the square, and so it would work. And then I saw that there was also that again, so I just added that, and yeah.
So you got 8 for your area?
Yeah, I got, because 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
this is 4, 1, 2.
Good. Let me show you what she's talking about. For this little rectangle here, she's talking about this piece here. This piece, this little piece fits together with this little piece, and they make 2 squares. Do you see that? And so that gave her the correct area of 8. And Sophie, maybe even an easier way, if you think about it, is 4 triangles, and your triangle number 1 could be moved to here, and then triangle number 2 could be moved to here.
Oh, yeah.
But your thinking's correct and your solution's correct, but you're right, it's hard to communicate. And then you can imagine that your extras can be eliminated then. So that gives you an area of 8. So that was good. 8 squared centimeters. Okay, and then Jackson, what about number 6?
For number 6.
Yeah.
I just
Yes, please. Let's skip 5 for a minute and go right to 6.
what I did was, I kind of turned it on its side,
Uh-huh.
so it fit down here.
Okay.
It's kind
So can you draw on it then?
of,
Like, can you think of a way to
oh,
draw in it?
you can cut it
There you go.
in half and bring this side,
What if you cut it in half again?
and then you cut it in half again. And so you bring this,
Step away and show people what you're doing.
you bring this over to here,
You guys see that?
and then you bring this over to here, and this and that over to there to get 8.
Okay, so in other words, if I numbered these 1, 2, 3, 4, I moved 2, 3, and 4. Does that make sense? And then we get rid of the doubles, and you still get an area of 8. Okay, so then these are all gone. You see how he did that? Okay, so you can, on a lot of these, figure out creative ways to find area. The problem is, sometimes you don't have a grid, for example, on the ones that you're pasting into your notebook, right? So we have to come up with the rule and look at the rule here. So of the ones that we've done, if I take this page, the exact same page, and I'm going to make a copy of it, put them side by side, and erase all the ink. Okay, so if I put them side by side, now on the left side I know the areas, And on the right side, I don't have the areas. And I want you to think about, put the scissors down. I want you to think about a couple of values for me. So you might want to use a highlighter today, and I have some to share if you need them. But if I pick up a highlighter and I highlight the base, like we did with triangle area, and then the height, can you see the height would be the distance? So it has to have a square angle, remember the height? So it's the distance from the top to the bottom. It could be like right here on a parallelogram. That's the height, or you could move it even out here. Do you see that's how far apart the base and the height are? And they make a square angle together. If this base is 4 and this height is 4 centimeters, and we got the, oh, did we count wrong on that other one? The base is 5. Miss Carew counted wrong. This base is 5, and the height is 4. 20. When you multiply, like with triangles, base times height, you get 20, but you don't even need to divide by 2 to get the area. You see that? So if I pick up a highlighter and I go to, say, the problem below, how long, look at your paper, how long is the base on number 3? What do you guys get? Sarah?
6 centimeters.
6. Does everybody see that? Okay, 6 centimeters. So then I'm going to put the height in. The height has to be from the highest point to the lowest point. A lot of times on a parallelogram, like I said, you'll see it out here, or you might see it inside. Wherever you see it, it has to make a square angle. How high is, what's the measure of that height? Somebody new. Timo? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And so what's 5 times 6? 30. So without counting, if you could just find the base and the height, you should be able to find the area. So on number 4, we should get 8, right? So if you put the scissors down. Okay. So where's the height? Who can come up and put the height in on number 4? Somebody haven't been up here yet. Jackson, you want to put the height in on number? You've been up here. Nelson, come on up and put the height in the basin with the highlighter. Because what you're going to do with those pictures in your book is you're going to make some rules. Go ahead on number 4. Draw in the, highlight the base. Right? And then highlight the height. And the easiest place, you're right, is outside. So sometimes the height is funny, but it's easier to put it outside the figure. So look at your grid paper and look at where he has the height and make sure that your height is 4 units and your base is 2 units. They're not even touching, but they are vertical and horizontal. They would make a square angle if they were put together. Like if this was moved over here, it would make a nice square angle. So the area is 4 times 2. That's what Sophie got. Whoops. That's what Sophie got. Okay? We okay on that?
Yes.
So when you get to something like number 6, I don't know if you remember what Jackson was talking about, but he sort of visualized it rotating. So in something like this, you do kind of want to visualize it rotating, and that's where the notebook comes in. So in your notebook, you're going to cut out these shapes, and then I want you to find the area of both shapes. Okay? And what I want your notebook to look like is 4 shapes titled parallelogram area. Use a highlighter or color pen and highlight just the base, and then with the straight edge, take a straight edge and orient it so you can highlight the height and then measure it with your, they do a very good tracing of that, with your ruler, and then calculate the area using the rule. So what was the rule? What do we do with the two numbers, Kata? This number, the base, and the height to get the area. We just multiplied them. So use the rule, and then we'll compare answers to get the area. So no matter which way you orient your shape, you should get the same answer. So if I make it tall, I should get the same answer than if I make it oriented so it's laying on the long side. The height's out here, and the base is here, and you're going to use your ruler to measure those, and you should get the exact same value. Does anybody have a question of what they're doing in their notebook? Timo.
For the area, how come we don't divide it by 2 like we do the base times height?
Because, that's a good question. We didn't need to, because when we did the dividing by 2 on grid paper, we always made our triangle half of a rectangle or a parallelogram. But when we did, say, problem 1 here with the rule and compared it to 1 with counting, it was the exact same. So we don't need to divide by 2. Does that make sense? Catherine.
Triangles, or is it just this kind?
We did the same thing in our notebook with triangles a while ago. Oops, that's not the notebook. And I can bring you back to that page. We had done something like this on grid paper first, and what we had done is we had taken the triangles and made them part of rectangles. But since the triangle only takes up half of it, we divided by 2. So we did do the same thing with triangles. Okay, let's get those cut up. Okay, so hopefully you have some of these pasted down. Catherine, turn around for a minute. And I'm hearing from a few people that this height is 6 centimeters. I got 6. So close. It could just be the measuring's off. Let me check a few of them. And then tell me, we'll check. So when I'm walking around the room, I'm seeing more measures, correct? This really is 3 and 6. Now, when you measure, there's always a little variance. That means from person to person, it might be off a little bit. We trim things, but by our rule here, the area would be the base, which is what? 3 centimeters times the height, which is 6, and so our area is 18 centimeters squared. When you take the same shape and rotate it and measure it, again, there might be a little variance. It's not going to be perfect when you're cutting things out and measuring, but it should be really close. I get 7.8 and 2.3 for my base and height. You guys close to those measures?
Yes.
So if I did some multiplication with that, I can tell it's not going to be exactly the same just by looking at the numbers, but it should be really, really close. Okay, so 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. I'm going to put the placeholder in. And then 2 times 8 is 16. Now I'm going to carry the 1. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15. And when I add this up, I get 17.94, which is about 18, right? So, very close. So we're going to say the area is about 18 centimeters squared. Why is it not exact? Why didn't it turn out perfect, Jackson?
Because the measurements might be off.
Yeah, the measurements might be off just a teeny tiny bit, right? But for your work tonight, you need to be able to do triangle area, rectangle area, and parallelogram area to do problems like the back side of your other worksheet. So when you look at this worksheet and flip that over, I don't have a picture of that one. You have to be able to do all the different areas. which means you need to be able to draw in the height and measure correctly, draw on the base, measure correctly, and break your shape up into triangles, rectangles, and parallelograms.
This is in centimeters, right?
And you're going to do it all in centimeters.
Is this your homework?
That the other side of this lab sheet, the other side of I was going to bring up the picture that we had of Jessica's work. The other side of that lab sheet is your homework. Okay? And you're going to use a ruler. You need to use a ruler.